Starved for affection, I took in 3 maimed beastmen as family. I risked life and limb time and again to earn money for their medicine and treatments. I thought my genuine care would thaw their frozen hearts, yet when the moment came, they shoved me into harm's way to save my cousin instead. That's when I realized they all had their own moons to cherish, but I was never their moonlight. Eventually, I too found the moon that was meant to shine for me alone. Yet those 3 began self-harming like madmen, covered in wounds, their tear-stained pleas bleeding through every word, begging me not to abandon them. The wound in my abdomen burned with agony, yet my heart soared with inexplicable joy. A black market fight for a miracle cure, totally worth it. This should cheer Kale up. His mangled fox ears that always bothered him can finally be healed. The thought made me quicken my pace without realizing it. By the time I got home, night had fallen completely. But the living room was unusually lit by a single lamp. I stood frozen in the courtyard, a sudden wave of inexplicable melancholy washing over me until tears welled up unbidden. For over 20 years of solitude, never had I seen a light left burning specifically for my return. 1. Beastfolk grow anxious without their master's presence, so they typically wait restlessly in the living room, leaving a warm amber lamp lit for their late returning owners. Thus over time, that glowing amber nightlight became both a symbol of the bond between beastfolk and masters, and a tender expression of familial devotion. When I first rescued Kale and the others, I yearned deeply for a nightlight of my own, but they said they were already broken, exhausted in body and soul, with no energy for such trivialities. If I wanted warmth, I should abandon these damaged orcs and find someone whole and beautiful instead. My heart ached for them. They were family, though disappointed. Pity outweighed everything. From then on, fearing their distress, I never mentioned it again. After 5 years together, I'd given up hope for that light, never imagined they'd surprise me with it today. A smile crept onto my face as I tiptoed forward, planning to surprise Kale and the others. But when I pushed the door open abruptly, the 3 beastmen inside turned in unison, their eyes held not welcome, but wariness and irritation. My heart sank as I instinctively forced an apologetic smile. "Sorry, did I interrupt? I thought you'd left the light on for me." Before I could finish, Jack suddenly stood up in a rage, hurling a botched wood carving into the trash. "Lights, lights, lights. That's all you ever talk about," he snapped. "How many times do we have to say it? We don't leave them on for you. Are you brain dead or just deaf?" I stood frozen, my gaze instinctively darting toward Kale and Ray, silently pleading for them to speak up for me. Yet all I got was a fleeting glimpse of inexplicable disappointment in their eyes when they noticed me. Before deliberately looking away, to them, my presence meant no more than a passing breeze or a light drizzle, utterly insignificant. My heart clenched as I suddenly recalled the deranged, obsessive look on that person's face before their death. "Violet, Violet, you should come with me. No one in this world will ever love you." "No one." I shook my head, breaking free from the memory, silently repeating the words I'd told myself 1,000 times before. "No, I will have family, I will have love, and most importantly, people who truly care for me." I looked up at Kale, as if desperately needing to prove the conviction that had always burned within me. Reaching eagerly into my pocket, I produced the carefully preserved miracle cure and stepped forward to offer it to Kale. He paused his bracelet making, tilting his head up to look at me with confusion. I flashed him an ingratiating grin and said, "This medicine will heal your ears. Just apply it daily for a week, and your damaged ears will regenerate completely. You won't need to wear hats anymore." Kale's eyes flickered with faint light as he studied the medicine in my hand. Discreetly tucking away his craftwork, he accepted the vial and, unusually, gifted me with a smile. "Thank you, Violet. I'm really happy." Kale, a fox beast man, was naturally handsome, but he usually wore a cold expression around me or stared at his reflection with melancholy. It was the first time I'd seen him smile like this, making his features glow even more radiantly. I couldn't help but freeze in place, utterly mesmerized. A sudden forceful shove from behind caught me off guard while I was lost in thought. Stumbling a few steps, I fell hard onto the ground. My injured abdomen collided with the coffee table's corner, sending an involuntary shudder through my body. Jax's displeased voice came from behind. "Hey, I haven't forgiven you yet, and you're already making eyes at that fox. TSK, such shameless behavior, clearly not a proper owner." I lifted my head to explain, but the pain left me speechless. Realizing I wasn't groveling with apologies like usual when he got angry, Jax felt humiliated and stormed off in a huff. Kale clenched the medicine in his hand, muttered some half-hearted excuse, then hurriedly left as well. In the flickering light, I looked up at Kale's retreating figure through the shifting shadows, and couldn't help feeling a pang of sadness. After all, Kale was the first beastman I'd brought home. We'd spent the most time together, and I'd always treated him with the utmost care. We'd lived like family for 3 years, yet now when I lay wounded and writhing in pain, he couldn't even spare me a passing glance, though I understood his resentment over the disfigured ear. Still, My gaze fell as his retreating figure paused at the doorway, then turned back abruptly as if remembering something, and just like that, hope rekindled in my eyes. Sadly, Cale's hurried return wasn't for me, but for that unfinished bracelet lying on the couch. I lowered my head with a self-deprecating chuckle. Just as I tried to get up, a hand suddenly appeared before me. I froze, looking up to see Ray, uncharacteristically breaking his usual silence, meeting my gaze. He flashed that familiar roguish grin. What? Realized I'm way hotter than that flamboyant fox just now. Can't take your eyes off me. I didn't respond, just stared at the outstretched hand in midair, overwhelmed by the unexpected honor. After all, Ray might play the charming playboy, but he's actually the hardest to read. I could never tell whether that cheerful grin masked disgust or delight, whether his smooth talk carried sincerity or deception. About 2 years ago, I rescued a battered Ray. While dressing his wounds, the back of my hand accidentally brushed against his arm. Ray was grinning ear to ear, praising me for being gentle and considerate, saying he couldn't help but fall for me. But later, I accidentally discovered him muttering disgusting while obsessively scrubbing the spot I'd touched hundreds of times, until the skin broke, bled, and festered. From then on, I became extremely cautious, never laying a finger on him again. Even when applying medicine afterward, I'd simply prepare it and leave it by his door, so, fearing he might harm himself again, I didn't dare take his hand. Instead, I steadied myself against the coffee table and slowly rose on my own. Ray's smile faded noticeably, her expression turning sullen. His usual smirk disappeared as he tilted his head, asking, "Does my broken antenna disgust you?" I froze, not daring to touch that nerve, shaking my head vehemently. "No, Ray, you're beautiful, I adore you. How could I ever be disgusted?" Suddenly, his lips curled again. "Really?" he challenged. I looked at him with sincere eyes and nodded emphatically. Ray immediately followed up, even more handsome than Cale. My nodding faltered as I saw his expression start to droop into a pitiful pout. Eager to reassure him, I quickly added, "Yes, handsomer than Cale," satisfied with my answer. Ray suddenly stepped forward and pulled me into a tight hug, whining, "If Violet thinks I'm better looking than Cale, then why did you only fetch healing potions for him? You're definitely playing favorites." I froze in place, flustered by their sudden intimacy. "I want my cute little antennae back too. Butterflies look awful without them. Violet, you've got to fix mine as well." With a playful pout, Ray lowered her gaze and gave me a suggestive wink. "Once my antennae heal, Violet can do whatever she wants with me." A crimson tongue flicked across peach-colored lips as her sultry eyes half-lidded. The space between our lowered faces grew thick with shared breath. I snapped back to reality, my face flushing crimson. Just as I was about to push them away forcefully, a loud crash came from outside the door. I turned my head in alarm, only to see Cale, who had unexpectedly returned at some point. He threw the ointment in his hand into the trash with unprecedented scorn on his face, sneering sarcastically, "I thought you might need some pain relief after boxing, but clearly I've interrupted your little moment. My apologies." I turned to explain, but Ray reached out and covered my mouth. The other person glared at Cale and taunted, "Since you know you're interrupting me and my darling master, why don't you take the hint and scram?" Cale sneered, "You think I want to witness your filthy little affair, but if word gets out about today, even if you regain your antennae, that person would probably despise you, so tell me, should I?" Before Cale could finish, Ray shoved me aside with a murderous urgency, as if his deepest taboo had been violated. He snarled, "Cale, if you dare breathe a word to that person, if you hadn't done it, why would you fear me telling the truth?" With those final words, Cale walked away again. Ray, no longer in his earlier seductive demeanor, left in a hurry with a grim expression after asking me to help find some medicine. I suspect he rushed off to strike some deal with Cale, probably to keep him from blabbing to certain people. The lively living room finally quieted down. Clutching my abdomen, I shuffled to the trash bin and retrieved the discarded medicinal ointment, too. As I was about to stand, my peripheral vision caught a damaged wolf figurine. After a brief pause, I picked up the little wolf too, unpolished and rough. Its wooden splinters pricked my fingers. Holding the wolf under the light, I examined it carefully and realized it could still be salvaged. I quietly put away the little wolf, thinking this might make a good apology gift for Jax. Otherwise, that proud little wolf would probably torture himself with overthinking. As for the person Cale and the others mentioned, I suspect it's their former master. Beast folk are deeply loyal to their masters. It's only natural they'd remember their past one, I understand, but when they were gravely injured and near death, their former master abandoned them. After they recovered and eagerly returned to their old master, they were cast aside again for being disfigured and disgusting, so I believe if I try harder and treat them better, they'll forget their past owner and accept me as their new family. I'll prove to that person from my past, I won't be alone forever, I deserve love and a family too. Just as I returned to my room with the ointment and the injured wolf cub, my phone pinged with a notification. When I checked, it was a message from Iris. Violet, I heard your beast folk refused to leave lights on for you, but when I visited tonight, I clearly saw warm lamplight flickering to life in your room. Don't take it to heart. If they'll light lamps for me but not you, they're probably just shy. Show them more kindness, and you'll surely win them over. You should cherish this phase, really. I wish I had your kind of problems, Violet. You've no idea how clingy my orcs have always been. They'd literally faint from crying whenever I stepped out. Such a headache. I tossed my phone aside in irritation, leaving all messages unanswered. Iris was my cousin, a year older than me. I still remember how warmly she greeted me when we first met, eagerly dragging me to play with her treasured toy collection. Back then as a child, I couldn't grasp complicated matters. I just knew this beautiful, kind-hearted cousin was someone I adored. Just as we were leaving, the pretty little girl came running out in tears, saying her toy was missing. The missing toy was eventually found in my backpack. My mother slapped me so hard I fell to the ground, knocking out a tooth on impact, through sobs. I insisted I hadn't stolen it, that Iris had given it to me willingly, but no one believed me, not even the parents who brought me into this world. As blows rained down on me like hailstones, I caught Iris flashing me a triumphant smirk when no one was looking. It wasn't until later that I learned she had been the only girl in the family before my birth, the undisputed princess who basked in everyone's adoration, the enviable apple of their eyes. But after I was born and displayed greater innate talent, the family's praises shifted to me more often. This bruised the pride of the pampered princess, fueling her resentment. Afterwards, Iris would slander me at every turn. At first, the family defended me, but as her accusations piled up and my parents' disdain became obvious, they too began seeing me as some kind of born villain. After all, what kind of parents would falsely accuse their own child? But little did they know, my father adored Iris's mother, and my mother fancied Iris's father. Naturally, the child born from their respective first loves received twice the doting. Whenever we found delicious food, we'd always bring a portion for Iris. If something caught our eye as beautiful, we'd buy it for Iris without hesitation. For birthdays, we'd spare no expense, building her a princess castle worth millions. On the day of my ability manifestation, a once-in-decades thunderstorm raged outside while I burned with a 40 degrees Celsius fever, unconscious and near death, requiring emergency transport to a specialized hospital. Yet when Iris called saying she was scared, my parents' hearts ached so intensely they abandoned me without hesitation, driving through the torrential rain straight to her house. The delayed medical treatment left my body permanently damaged, turning what should have been an extraordinary awakened ability into one with crippling flaws. In the hospital bed, the ghostly pale girl sobbed hysterically. Who's your real child? You took Iris to amusement parks on my birthdays. When I was sick, you spoon-fed her through tantrums. At parent-teacher conferences, you fought to praise Iris during speeches. Why, aren't we supposed to be family? Am I not worthy of your love? Why do you always favor Iris? You've seen how she slanders me. She's clearly the one who's rotten to the core. A sharp slap rang out as the little girl was struck across the face. Jagged nails left crimson trails on her skin, and droplets of blood splattered onto the white sheets, staining them scarlet. Shut up. How dare you speak ill of Iris? She's an angel. If she treats you badly, you must have deserved it. Love, you shouldn't even exist in the first place. Who gave you the right to demand love? Listen well, no one will ever love you. You'll die alone, because you're unworthy of love. Gasping for air, my eyes flew open as I jolted awake from the nightmare, the echo of those words still ringing in my ears. My phone chimed again with a notification, the bounty notice I'd posted earlier. There was finally a lead on the sacred remedy for Ray's antennae and Jax's tail, but it lay deep within the perilous abyssal forest. Without a moment's hesitation, I resolved to embark on the quest for the cure. If I can just find that medicine, Jax and Ray will be overjoyed. When they're happy, they'll want to become my family. But I never expected Kale and the others to stop me the next day when I was fully geared up to leave. Stunned, I kept double-checking. Are you seriously coming with me? The abyssal forest is dangerous, nothing like those leisure spots we've been to before. I'm not sure I can protect you all. Still clearly upset about last night, Jax cut me off with an impatient scowl. Enough with the nagging. We said we're going. Just lead the damn way. Why all the chatter? Besides, us silver wolves aren't so pathetic that we'd need protection from some useless human. Ray grinned. Exactly. Don't worry, Violet. We can handle ourselves. I opened my mouth to protest, but Jax had already marched ahead. The other two clearly had no intention of waiting for my decision either. Following without hesitation, with a resigned sigh, I gave up and fell silent. Maybe it's just me, but on the way to meet the exploration team, Jax and the other two orcs seemed unusually conscious about their appearances. Kale wore a vividly colored hat that stood out dramatically, accentuating his strikingly handsome, almost otherworldly features. Jax had deliberately put on new clothes, his silver chains adding a rebellious flair as he walked with spring in his step, like someone anticipating something special. Ray, who usually dressed like a peacock, surprisingly opted for a plain long robe today, a refreshing contrast that caught everyone's attention. I never expected to see Iris among the expedition team heading into the abyssal forest. My heart sank as I saw the sudden gleam in Jax's eyes, a terrible premonition washing over me. Violet, what a coincidence. Are you also going to the abyssal forest? Pressing my lips together, I remained silent, my face practically radiating disgust. Iris's forced smile finally cracked under the humiliation. Kale cut in abruptly, locking eyes with Iris as he picked up the conversation. What a coincidence. Seems fate keeps bringing us together. Jax crossed his arms and scolded like a righteous mediator. Cousins talking to you. Did boxing punches deafen your ears? Where are your manners? Ray chimed in with a sugary smile. That's right, Violet, only well-behaved, polite girls earn Beastmen's favor. Iris, who always enjoyed everyone's favor, curled her lips into another triumphant smile and said hypocritically, it's fine, I don't mind, Violet's always been like this, I'm used to it by now. For the first time, I found Kale and the others irritating, downright grating, face stony. I quickened my pace, ignoring their little performance. I couldn't even bring myself to wonder why Kale's group always took Iris's side. Jax tried to strike up a conversation along the way, but I brushed him off. I admit I was projecting my anger unfairly. When it comes to Iris, I can never stay completely rational. Probably embarrassed by my rejection, Jax started deliberately chatting up Iris in an exaggeratedly loud voice and laughter, clearly putting on a show for me. As night fell, Kale and the others finally stopped hovering around Iris and came over to me in high spirits. I remained seated, eating in silence without my usual warm hospitality when we're out together. After waiting forever without me offering them food, Jax finally snapped, Violet, can you just act normal? Stop being so sensitive. We only got closer to Iris because she's your cousin. Are you really going to keep sulking over something this petty? I kept trying to talk to you during the trip, gave you every chance to make up, but you deliberately gave me the cold shoulder, and back when we were looking for medicine, you went straight to Kale first. It's because you're so obviously playing favorites that His voice trailed off as Jack stole a glance at me, looking utterly wronged. My mind flashed to that poorly carved wolf figurine, then to the little silver wolf lying in a pool of blood with tear-streaked fur. In the end, my heart softened. Turning around, I pulled his favorite canned meat from my backpack and handed it to him, conceding, all right, don't be mad. I was just in a bad mood earlier, wasn't targeting you on purpose. Jax's eyes lit up, his stubby tail wagging like a windmill despite his affected dignity as he sniffed. You can't treat me like this anymore. Okay, I'll reluctantly forgive you, just this once. Nearby, Ray put on a pitiful expression and whined, figures, medicine for Kale, treats for Jax. I must really be the least favored beastman in Violet's eyes, unable to bear his gaze. I hastily shoved the bread in my hand into his mouth, desperate to cut off whatever he was about to say. The atmosphere froze instantly. Ray, usually so composed, stood rooted to the spot. Upon closer look, the tips of his ears had turned faintly pink. It suddenly hit me. The piece of bread I'd just forced into his mouth was the same one I'd taken a bite from. Before I could retrieve it, Ray instinctively devoured the bread in 2 quick bites, making the already awkward situation even more surreal. Kale's face darkened as he abruptly stood up and left without a word, preoccupied with the awkward bread incident. I wasn't paying my usual attention to him, so I completely missed how he deliberately paused, almost as if waiting for me to follow. After a hurried dinner, we arranged the night watch rotation. The night passed without incident. The next day, we split into 2 groups. Iris led one team away with eager determination in her eyes, while I set out to gather the medicinal herbs we needed. The atmosphere remained awkward throughout the journey because of what happened last night. When I collected the final herb with unsettling ease, a sense of foreboding washed over me. The silence was deafening, unnaturally so for the infamous abyssal forest. The next moment, the eerie quiet shattered violently as Iris came barreling toward us in disheveled panic, her eyes lighting up with desperate hope upon spotting our group. Kale, Ray, help me, my breath caught as I focused. Chasing after Iris was a blazing crimson phoenix, a creature straight out of legends. Tales spoke of ancient beast folk dwelling in the abyssal forest, but I never imagined they were real. The beast-luring powder in the air, combined with Iris's behavior along the way, made the truth painfully obvious. Iris had drugged the phoenix, attempting to force a contract. Instead, she provoked its fury. Cold sweat broke out on my forehead. In the blink of an eye, Iris was nearly upon us, with the phoenix hot on her heels, its talons mere inches from her back. One swipe would undoubtedly paint the ground crimson, shielding Kale and the others. I shouted desperately, "Run, I've got your back." Before I could finish, an overwhelming force sent me flying. The carefully carved wooden wolf tumbled from my arms, rolling through the dirt until its surface was smeared with grime. Jax froze at the sight of the wooden wolf carving, his feet instinctively moving toward it, until Iris called his name. He stopped mid-step and turned to assist his former master instead, dazed. I looked back only to meet Kale's guilt-ridden gaze and the others shielding Iris protectively as they walked away without hesitation. The truth I'd deliberately avoided now laid bare in the cruelest way possible. Iris was their former master, all three of them. That explains all their strange behavior before. They despised me because Iris hated me. So while basking in my care, they deliberately said and did things to wound me. All to avenge Iris. As Iris and the others vanished from sight, I snapped out of my daze, bracing for the Phoenix's fatal strike, only to be met not with pain, but a featherlight embrace. "Hey, don't you dare cry," came the voice. I've got no clue how to comfort people. Blinking dumbly, I turned to face the now humanoid Phoenix behind me and stammered, "Why, you're not killing me." After a brief moment of eye contact, they suddenly covered their eyes with trembling hands. The exposed alabaster neck flushed crimson, their voice trembling with unconscious panic. Don't look at me like that." It's strange, watching the young master blush to the point of near fainting. I couldn't help but wonder, is this really how phoenixes behave? When I cautiously took a step forward, they dramatically recoiled as if burned. As the initial panic faded, the adrenaline from our narrow escape must have gotten to me. Some strange impulse welled up inside, an almost playful urge to tease the person before me, so we maintained this dance of advance and retreat until the breathtakingly beautiful youth was backed against a tree by my pursuit. Like a kitten puffing itself up, he blustered, "I am warning you, don't come any closer, or else," rising on tiptoe to meet his gaze directly, I challenged, "Or else what?" For, after a charged silence, the boy was first to yield, protesting loudly. "You must have slipped me some strange potion. Why else would my heart act so peculiar around you? Hand over the antidote now, or I'll haunt your every step." I chuckled, recalling an old meme, then grabbed his hand firmly and teased with feigned sincerity, "You're doomed, you've fallen head over heels." The boy blinked blankly at my words, his face clouded with utter bewilderment, clearly failing to grasp my meaning. Maybe it was my desperate longing for love, or perhaps his pristine innocence. Or maybe, just maybe, I'd fallen for this little phoenix at first sight. Whatever the reason, I knew one thing: I had to have him. Kale, Ray, Jax, they were all irrelevant now. Failed experiments couldn't stoke my darker desires. Let them chase after whoever they wanted. Love is beautiful, love is sinful, love is extreme. In this moment, I began to vaguely understand those wretched parents, because I was now employing the very tactics I once despised to seduce an innocent little phoenix. Pure as blank paper, I took his hand and slowly traced my name onto his palm. "I'm Violet. What's your name?" "Me. I have no name. The humans who come here all call me Phoenix." The pounding in my chest grew louder, a suffocating sensation as if my heart might burst through my ribs. "Then let me give you a name. Nox. How about I call you Nox? The night stretches with distant bells, while the starry river waits for dawn's first light. I need no dawn. No morning light, only eternal night keeping company with evening stars. Nox." Under my unwavering gaze, the little phoenix murmured the name repeatedly before looking up with a smile. "All right, from now on, I'll be Nox. I love this name." My grip tightened unconsciously, whether Nox was willing or not. I thought, from this moment onward, he would be the family I'd been searching for all along. The return journey was remarkably smooth. As no beasts dared to attack or intercept us with the phoenix's presence, holding my companion's hand, I felt my heart swell with contentment, no longer adrift in the uncertainty that once plagued me. After emerging from the dark abyss forest with the young phoenix, we encountered Iris and her group in disarray at the forest's edge. When they spotted me, Kale and the others' eyes lit up with relief and joy as they rushed over like a gust of wind. "Thank goodness, Violet, I knew you'd be fine. Your abilities are exceptional, though they take a toll on your body. Your survival odds were always higher than Iris." Just as I thought, I turned away, evading Kale's touch. The warmth in my eyes when facing him had vanished completely. "Don't touch me." My icy demeanor left Kale frozen in place. Only then did he seem to notice the young phoenix at my side. His gaze dropped to our intertwined hands, and suddenly, as if provoked, he lunged to pull us apart. "Let go. No holding hands, no touching anyone else. You promised Jax would be the last one. You lied again, bringing home another beast folk. We were perfectly fine living just the two of us, weren't we? Ray, Jax, even this damn fox here, none of them should have existed." With a loud thud, the frenzied Kale was knocked to the ground by me, lying there in disarray. He raised his bloodshot eyes with utter disbelief. "You'd hit me. For another beast man?" Even Ray and Jax, who had rushed over from nearby, froze in shock at this sudden turn of events. After all, among the three of them, Kale had always been the most special to me. He was the first Beastman I'd ever picked up. Ignoring everyone's reactions, I shielded the little phoenix behind me and glared coldly at Kale on the ground. And it will always be A, but B could be anyone. Weren't those your exact words when you refused to form a contract with me out of loyalty to your former master? Now I believe you were right. My gaze swept over Ray's conflicted expression and Jax's restrained fear as I said, and what you said before, that settling for second best is the most disgusting thing in this world. I've come to fully agree with that. Since you've already made your choice, protecting your former master and helping her escape, I'll let this betrayal slide. Just don't ever show your faces around me again. Jax's eyes reddened abruptly as he stubbornly stepped forward. Staring at me, I admit taking Iris away was too much, but don't you think the one being cruel here is you, saying such harsh words? You promised to treat me like family when you took me in, yet you turned your back on me over one single mistake. I tilted my head and smiled at Jax, who was making his case with increasingly flustered indignation. One mistake. Remember when you made me stand in the rain for 3 hours just because I couldn't get the carving wood you wanted? I went through hell just to get you all to celebrate one birthday with me, and what happened? You stood me up as a group. At the time I couldn't understand why, now I get it. Because I'd pissed off Iris the day before, right? And let's not forget how you disguised yourselves to watch me fight in that underground ring. I thought you were worried about me, but turns out my humiliating footage just became Iris' entertainment. Even just now, if I hadn't run into Little Phoenix, what you'd be looking at right now wouldn't be a living person, but a mangled corpse. Family, don't make me laugh. You think you deserve that title. As I recounted more of the past, the trio's faces grew increasingly pale. Suddenly feeling this was pointless, I tried to leave with my phoenix but couldn't budge it. Before I could turn around, I was pulled into a warm embrace. The person tilted their head with a cocky expression, saying, "Sounds like they were really, really awful to you." Then the young phoenix leaned down, ignoring the other's smoldering glares, and whispered near my ear, "So, Master, would you like my help?" Their proximity made my cheeks burn. I instinctively snuggled deeper into the warm embrace before realizing, could I truly be someone's unconditional favorite? After lingering in that warmth for a moment longer, I shook my head. No need, I wouldn't want to dirty your hands. I left with Little Phoenix in tow. Leaving the four of them standing there dumbfounded, I could feel Iris's gaze burning into my back, her eyes fixed on Little Phoenix with such intensity that dark impulses surged through me. I nearly wished I could gouge out those staring eyes. Instead of taking Little Phoenix back to Kale's place, I brought her to my real home, a modest 40-square-meter wooden cabin nestled in the wilderness, once abandoned in the wild due to Iris's prank. This very cabin saved me from perishing in a raging storm. Years later, when I could afford it, I gradually transformed this place into my dream home with my own hands. Little Phoenix surveyed the interior, and I found myself growing nervous, as if regressing to my insecure childhood. My hands clenched tighter, voice trembling. It's just the most basic setup. If anything doesn't meet your standards, I can always. Little Phoenix reached out, rescuing my palm from my own nails. Just like in the forest before, saying, "I love it just as much as I love the name Nox. So Master, you really don't need to make that face. I don't know why, but seeing you like this makes my heart ache." Someone guided my hand to press against a powerfully beating heart. My nose suddenly stung, and I couldn't hold back the tears anymore. The Little Phoenix suddenly panicked, flusteredly wiping my tears as he hurriedly apologized. "Hey, don't cry. Did I say something wrong? I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Please stop crying." For the first time, someone ached for my tears. For the first time, someone became flustered because of my crying. I reached out and pulled the Little Phoenix into a tight embrace, murmuring into his shoulder, "Are you this gentle with all humans?" Without hesitation, the words tumbled out almost reflexively. "Impossible. Those who ever tried to cross me now have 3-meter-tall weeds growing over their graves." After a brief silence, they awkwardly reached out, clumsily patting my back with a voice tinged with embarrassed frustration. Only you make me act this strange. You're the only one I'd ever comfort like this. Then I want you to celebrate my birthday with me. You have to sing nursery rhymes for me, and tell me bedtime stories too. Then give me a baby phoenix, okay? Ha, what? I looked up at him with a triumphant grin. "I don't care, you promised anyway." Then I reached out and poked his stomach playfully. Knox knocks. "Is there a Little Phoenix in here?" His face turned crimson. "How could there be? We haven't." Under my teasing gaze, his face flushed even redder before he finally snapped in embarrassment, pressing my head forcefully against his chest. I closed my eyes, smirking to myself. How wonderful. So this is what it feels like to be indulged in silly antics, light as a feather, like floating on cloud 9. In the following days, My little phoenix accompanied me through every whim I'd previously only dreamed of, the sweet, fluffy cotton candy at the amusement park, a strong, comforting back to lean on when exhausted from play, whimsical bedtime stories under the night sky, and finally, the warm glow of a light I never dared hope for on late returns. I stood frozen, staring at the violet-shaped warmer light as my eyes welled up again. Ever since being with little Phoenix, I've become like this, tearing up over the smallest things. Back when I got gut-shot begging medicine for Kale's crew, I didn't even flinch. My voice choked up as I looked at the awkward little Phoenix. When did you get this? Kale's gang really left me traumatized. I never dared mention wanting a warmer light, never expected little Phoenix would go buy one on their own. We've been together every single day. Swapped it with the shopkeeper during your blindfolded target practice exchange. With what? My life-bound warmth, Jade. I froze again, even suspecting my little Phoenix had fallen for some scam. This seems popular among humans, leaving a warm light for one's master, since it symbolizes our bond. I naturally traded the most precious thing I possess. I traded my companion Jade for this violet light, a symbol of our unbreakable bond. So Violet, I'm never leaving you. Cheer up, will you? The clumsy little Phoenix was soothing my fears and anxieties with his purest, most genuine affection. In the end, I couldn't hold back my tears. How true it is, those who are loved become fragile, because they know someone will come running to comfort them when they cry. A few days later, I returned to the city with little Phoenix. I never expected to see Kale and the others waiting at my doorstep. The living room was lit by 3 warm yellow lamps left on, with Kale and his 2 companions sporting dark circles under their eyes, their faces clearly exhausted. The moment they saw me, all 3 jumped up excitedly. Violet, you're back. 5. I frowned at the trio. Why are you still here? My words seemed to go in one ear and out the other as they grinned unnervingly at the little Phoenix behind me. So this is the 5th member of our family, Violet. You're terrible. Can't just forget about your rescuers when someone new shows up. You kept him out playing so long, we've been waiting forever. Jax, his body wrapped in layers of bandages, stepped forward with a lifelike wooden wolf carving. His eyes shone with hope as he said, "The birthday gift you always wanted. I finished it. That little wolf figurine from the abyssal forest. I went back to retrieve it. From now on, I'll always keep it close." I reached out, took the carving. Then, under Jax's suddenly radiant gaze, crushed it to splinters with one forceful squeeze. As his eyes widened in horror, I tossed the fragments into the trash. "Sorry, but I don't like picking up other people's trash." Jax froze in place, then frantically started digging through the trash bin, muttering like a madman, "No, it's not trash, and I didn't give it to anyone else. I made it especially for you, for Violet. I even carved our names on it," annoyed by his words. I turned to look at the bracelet in Kale's hand and raised an eyebrow. For me, he instinctively pulled it back, then glanced at the little Phoenix behind me before offering it again with a hint of hope. "Violet, I'm sorry. I thought I loved Iris, but during these days without you, I realized it was just obsession, not love. I couldn't accept being abandoned. The truth is, it's you I truly care about. Can we go back to how things were? I wouldn't mind if you took in another beastkin." I scoffed. "You might not mind, but I do. After all, my first and only bonding ceremony is reserved for my little Phoenix. If there's nothing else, I'd appreciate if you 3 could vacate the property soon. I've already contacted potential buyers." After a long silence, Ray finally blurted out, "You sold the house we lived in for 3 years. Didn't you say every corner of that home brought back memories of our time together?" "Exactly. That's why I had to sell it. It made me sick just thinking about it. You'd understand, Ray. After all, you used to say it disgusted you too, scrubbing yourself raw like that." Under my amused gaze, Ray flinched and looked away. "And no, I've changed. I didn't mean it back then. And you promised to help me find the medicine." As my stare grew colder, Ray's words trailed off. "We've wasted too much time here," the little Phoenix huffed, clearly displeased. "I've never had previous owners. Yet you've had 3 beastmen before me." Flustered, I soothed. "They were just test subjects, nothing compared to you. You know our bond is my first true contract." Afraid the Phoenix might say more, I hastily muttered some excuses and made my exit with the others. I truly thought this incident would sever all ties with Kale and his group for good. To my horror, those 3 became utterly obsessed, tracking down my address and staking out my doorstep every day. Battered and broken beyond recognition, they clutched trinkets I'd casually mentioned wanting, whether as passing remarks or genuine wishes. "Violet, I learned to knit that scarf you wanted for your 23rd birthday," Kale murmured. "You said my drawings were good, that you'd like a portrait. See, I poured my soul into this." Jax raised the canvas, his scarred wrists bearing crimson streaks where blood had replaced paint, the flowers blooming unnaturally scarlet. "The black bear that attacked you in the underground arena, I've killed it. Could you patch me up like before?" Ray gasped. drenched in blood and looking seconds away from collapsing, facing these 3 orcs who seemed so deeply in love with me. I couldn't help but find it utterly ridiculous. When I loved them, they cast me aside like trash. The moment I walked away, they treated me like treasure. Netizens were right. Pathetic people love wallowing in their own melodrama, mistaking their toxic obsession for some grand romance while being nothing but a nuisance to others. Under Phoenix's increasingly suspicious gaze, I cut my losses and quietly whisked him away from City A to embark on our global journey. Phoenix spent centuries alone in the dark abyss forest, while I remained trapped in City A's quagmire for half a lifetime. How fortunate I was to meet him. He freed me from that pitiful obsession of feeling unloved. The night stretches long with distant bells, while the Milky Way pales before dawn, trapped in darkness for 20 years, until the phoenix rose and moonlight reappeared. To Violet, Nox was her moonlight, her sunshine, the one family she found after exhausting a lifetime's worth of luck. And, story 2, before the bitter cold arrived, the jerk got a government job and broke up with me, claiming I was no longer good enough for him. After we split, I went home to stock up on supplies with my parents. The jerk, who had neither food nor drink, called me asking for food. I told him all I had left was dog food, to which he replied that dog food would do. I retorted that it wouldn't. If he ate the dog food, what would my dog eat? He claimed he was more obedient than a dog, saying he could lie down immediately if I asked. I coldly suggested he lie down with his mistress instead and stop eyeing my food, yet, shamelessly, he showed up at my door with his mistress, still wanting to eat. When I passed the civil service exam, I decided we should break up. You're not worthy of me anymore, Everett said coldly. I stood there, stunned, holding the bag of pepper chicken he liked, as if I were under a spell. I ranked first in this morning's civil service interview results, he added, turning away to pack his clothes in our rented room. His success was seemingly his license to disdain me. Everett, you're looking down on me? I asked, hoping it was just a cruel joke and he was actually planning a big surprise. Your parents are junk collectors, you work at a supermarket, how could you possibly match up to me? He scoffed. In that moment, my eyes teared up. Insult me, but not my parents. Then I realized he had been getting close to Giselle, a professor's daughter. Were they together now, making him eager to ditch me for someone better? What's wrong with my parents collecting junk? Without them, would you have been able to go to school or have the opportunity to take the civil service exam? I retorted hoarsely. Enough of that trivial old history. Just because your parents helped me, do I owe you my life in return? He sneered. Furious, I slapped him hard. You ungrateful beast, take all your things and get out. No, I yelled, it's hot outside. I don't need these thick clothes. You can throw them away, Everett said, touching his slapped cheek. As he packed his suitcase and stormed out, I collapsed on the floor, sobbing loudly. My phone rang. It was my best friend Hope. Haley, can you talk? Sniffling, I looked around the empty room and responded gloomily. Go ahead. Unexpectedly, Hope shared a startling secret. Working in the meteorological department, she had noticed continuous abnormal satellite cloud images indicating impending severe cold weather. However, the department's higher-ups, after consulting with experts, declared there was no anomaly and ordered staff not to spread rumors. But 2 nights ago, while delivering documents to the director, Hope discovered he had moved to a well-known luxurious residence, where workers were busy installing reinforced doors, windows, and solar panels, connecting the dots from the satellite images to the director's actions. Hope concluded that the extreme cold would hit in no more than 4 days, recalling recent strange occurrences. I stopped crying. As a supermarket stock manager, I had noticed unusually large orders recently, all from wealthy addresses, comprising mostly instant noodles, sausages, biscuits, frozen food, and staples, none matching their affluent status. Realizing what Hope described, a chill ran down my spine. The wealthy must have had forewarning, hence their stockpiling of food. I wiped my tear-streaked face, which had already dried, and stood up abruptly. Disaster was imminent. There was no time for sentimentality when my life was at stake. After washing my face, I immediately called my parents, who are scrap collectors. My father is well known as the king of scrap in the county town, and together with my mother, they have collected scrap for over 30 years. It is through this business that our family became local, hidden wealthy folks. My parents always taught me to keep a low profile. So even though I've been with Everett for many years, I never mentioned my family's wealth to him, let alone told him about my parents' plan to buy us a house in full and invest in a big supermarket for me to manage independently. My desire to buy a house close to where Everett works was put on hold since his job situation was still uncertain. I also took a job at the supermarket to familiarize myself with its operations in preparation for our own future business. Unfortunately, just as Everett passed his civil service interview, He started to look down on me. When the call connected, both my parents were at home, taking refuge from the recent persistent heatwave and conducting little business, relaxing at home with the air conditioning on. I told them very seriously that I had reliable insider information about an impending severe cold spell that would last a long time. I urged them to quickly buy supplies and fortify the doors and windows. Stocking up was to survive the extreme cold, and strengthening the house was to prevent robberies for food. In chaotic times, the evil in people's hearts can multiply. It's best to be cautious. Although my mom was somewhat skeptical, I had given her accurate insider tips during the pandemic, and my serious tone this time convinced my parents to agree immediately. They started purchasing food, replacing windows and doors, and installing solar panels. I had prepared a whole basket of arguments to persuade my parents, but I ended up not needing any of them. I sent a list to my mom for her to follow when buying food. The list would at least last the three of us for a year. I also urgently ordered 20,000 yuan worth of pre-cooked meals online, requesting delivery to a logistics point near my home by the day after tomorrow. Lastly, I booked a flight for the next morning, planning to fly home early. I then gave all the thick quilts and Everett's down jacket to the cleaning lady downstairs. Everett didn't want the heavy clothes, so I wondered how he would keep warm when the severe cold hit, maybe with his dark body hair. That evening, I checked Everett and Giselle's social media and, as I expected, both had made their relationship official with a post of them kissing, captioned with "Forever Happy," seeing them flaunting their love, clearly oblivious to the impending severe cold and utterly unprepared, made me think sarcastically about how their love would fare in the harsh weather. As the saying goes, public displays of affection often end quickly. I was curious to see how happy they would be under these harsh conditions. The next day, I flew home without any issues. As I exited the airport, the heat hit me, and there was my mom in her little truck, waiting at the exit with the cargo area securely covered. Not seeing Everett, my mom thought we had argued. Even if you've argued, you had to come back, right? The severe cold is approaching. No time for childish sulks. Mom, what did you buy? I changed the subject. These last 2 days, I bought dog food, hot and sour noodles, instant noodles, sausages, rice, flour, cooking oil, vegetable seeds. My mom handed me the shopping list. I nodded. The shopping list I had made for her was arranged by date. These 2 days, we bought various medicines, tissues, clothes, and items that are easy to store. Food that doesn't store well we would buy later. Tomorrow's shopping plan included beef, steaks, lamb chops, mackerel, various types of meat, vegetables, and dried fruits and snacks. If the weather is normal the day after tomorrow, we'll stock up on more food. Hope said the severe cold wouldn't last more than 4 days, so we could only buy as much and as quickly as possible. A small 3-story building was erected behind, surrounded by fields without any neighbors nearby. My mom drove straight up to the building. Ball, our Pomeranian, joyfully bounded towards me, standing up to hug my legs with his tail wagging cheerfully. As I patted Ball's head, I noticed that all the doors and windows were properly installed. I tried to test their strength with a hammer from the ground, hitting the windows and doors forcefully, but they didn't budge at all, not even a mark. Don't waste your energy, they're all bulletproof glass, my dad said with a smile, taking the hammer from my hand. Then, my dad also asked about Everett. I recounted how Everett passed the civil service exam and wanted to break up with me, which infuriated my dad and made my mom curse out of anger. My mom was so furious she almost called Everett to scold him, but I stopped her. I didn't want Everett to think I couldn't live without him. Let it go. It's disappointing that he's so short-sighted. We misjudged him, my dad said. There are plenty of good guys out there. Haley will definitely find someone more suitable for her. He comforted my mom and me. Don't worry, Mom and Dad. I've already moved on, I assured them nonchalantly. Indeed, since Everett brought up the breakup, I initially couldn't accept it, but I haven't thought about him since. All I've been focusing on is how to survive extreme weather conditions with my parents. Dad, what if this extreme cold weather never arrives? Then we've wasted money on all this food, and these windows and doors would have been installed for nothing. I expressed my concerns, but my parents reassured me, emphasizing that money is meant to serve us, and it's worth preparing even if there's only a 1% chance of extreme cold. I felt warm inside. This is what a trusting family is all about. At home, the first floor was neatly stacked with wood logs. When the house was being built, I was obsessed with Christmas and wanted a fireplace, so Dad installed an imported one. In extreme weather conditions, when gas, electricity, and water are likely to be cut off, the fireplace would be the best source of warmth. Taking the elevator to the second floor, the living room was packed with food, and the beds in the bedrooms were very thick. Glancing around, I realized that we were missing a crucial item listed, water. I then remembered the sweet water well at the old factory site. The well, nearly 200 meters deep, used to provide drinking water for a nearby village until they got piped water, and now only our family uses it. In winter, the water drawn is steaming hot. The biggest problem in a post-apocalyptic scenario, water, was thus easily solved by my family. Dad pointed to some blocks in the corner, looking like microwaves, and told me, those are portable power stations. They can easily power the water pumps. Not only can these power stations charge phones, but they can also power microwaves, induction cookers, and essentially all household appliances, Dad said proudly. On the third-floor roof, solar panels of varying ages were arranged, with my dad proudly pointing to the mostly older panels, chuckling about how he got them from collecting scraps, but assured that they were of good quality. The solar panels, cleaned by my dad, tirelessly absorbed the sun's warmth and the setting sun's glow, diligently converting it into stored electrical energy. The next day, our family cooperated in buying supplies non-stop. Oddly, there were more people out buying food than the day before, with long queues everywhere. Had everyone received the news that extreme cold was imminent, the farmers' market was bustling. My mom and I had to split up to shop separately, trying to buy as much food as possible. People in line desperately pushed forward to grab items. The butcher had just slaughtered the last pig. The frozen goods seller stood in his empty cold storage, regretting not stocking more. The steamed bun vendor ran out of firewood, and a customer started chopping wood for him with a big axe. In the supermarket, it was packed, with shelves nearly empty. At the meat stall, even the scraps with bones were snapped up. Down jackets were bought in piles, and the cashier was tightly surrounded by 3 layers of people inside and out. It wasn't until 7 p.m. that my mom and I barely managed to achieve 60% of our shopping goals. My mom also bought 6 reed partridge chickens, planning to raise them in the bedroom on the 3rd floor to ensure a supply of fresh eggs. She even wanted to buy 2 pigs, but I stopped her. I was afraid the smell would be too overwhelming. On the way home, the sky started to rain with flashes of lightning and thunder. As if the whole world had suddenly been covered with a black veil, I hurriedly turned on the car headlights, which barely illuminated 2 or 3 meters ahead, and drove home slowly. What usually was a drive of just over 10 minutes took me more than 40 minutes, and I was soaked in sweat by the time I got home. That night, the thunder didn't stop, and it was only in the latter half of the night, amidst the loud rain, that I fell into a drowsy sleep. I don't know how long it had been when Ball's whining woke me up. It was already bright outside. I hurriedly sat up from under the covers, feeling a chill, and shivered. I was still in my nightgown. Puzzled, I looked out the window to a world blanketed in white snow. It looked like a frozen kingdom with snow still falling generously. In the peak of summer, there had unexpectedly been a heavy snowfall. I shivered again, quickly changed into a fleece-lined pajama, and felt a bit better. I checked my phone, which was full of reports about the sudden drop in temperature. Buses and high-speed trains were halted. There were various car accidents on the roads, and there was a scarcity of warm clothing. The crowded waiting rooms were noisy with complaints and curses, adults calling out to crying children, passengers unable to believe such heavy snow was hindering their travels. Car accidents were common on the highways, and traffic police were overwhelmed. Everyone was late for work, and all shops were closed. The usually bustling market was now desolately empty, covered only in snow. Overnight, the temperature had dropped by more than 40 degrees. It was already -5 degrees outside. Many people caught outside unprepared were frantically complaining on social media. I knew that most people hadn't realized yet they shouldn't be complaining, but should be rushing to find any open stores to buy warm clothing and food. Once this chance was missed, it might never come again. My phone rang with a video call. It was Everett. I quickly picked up. I had kept him and Giselle on Instagram just to see how miserable they would end up. Seeing them miserable was my reassurance. Everett, facing the camera, had a red nose and slightly purple lips. "Haley, did you bring back my down jacket? Can you bring me some warm clothes? I'm back at my hometown. At my mom's place." How could this jerk go back to his hometown and still have the cheek to ask me to bring him clothes? Those trashes, I threw them away long ago. Did you think I'd carry trash on a plane? I scoffed. Thrown away, you, forget it. Bring me some of your dad's thick clothes, and bring some of yours too. Giselle is here too. We both caught a cold, Everett said, sneezing. Oh, and we're running out of food here. Bring some food too. I almost laughed. Jerk. You should be making wishes to God, not to me. What do your freezing or sweltering to death have to do with me? I'm not a funeral director. I don't collect corpses. I hung up right away. I opened the jerk's social media, and his latest post was asking for help with cold medicine and warm clothes. A few days ago, Giselle shared a post in her social circle expressing excitement about visiting her husband Everett's hometown for the first time. Filled with curiosity, the photo showed her and Everett cheek to cheek. She humorously questioned how one could be so cheerful without food or drink, joking about running on love alone and wondering how long their happiness would last. To prepare for the cold, they moved all the perishable food to the rooftop, which served as a natural refrigerator. In the afternoon, Giselle and her mother started planting vegetables in foam boxes: leeks, cabbage, lettuce, edible chrysanthemum, and mustard greens, using chicken manure for fertilization, which was highly effective. For dinner, they enjoyed her favorite hot pot with spicy shrimp, lamb rolls, beef rolls, meatballs, and fresh vegetables tossed into the boiling, fragrant soup, filling the house with a delightful aroma. After dinner, Giselle practiced some martial arts. Although academically not the strongest, she was skilled in martial arts, having studied Muay Thai and Sanda for 3 years in university and even worked part-time as a coach at a Muay Thai gym last year, training several women affected by domestic violence. Since learning Muay Thai, these women's families stopped worrying about them being mistreated, or about chores and homework being neglected. In the evening, she played a game of paper card with her parents, where losers had to stick notes on their faces. Soon, everyone's faces were covered with notes, leading to much laughter and a relaxed atmosphere. They enjoyed this carefree lifestyle for 18 days until one afternoon, just as Giselle took some deliciously roasted sweet potatoes out of the oven, the power went out, quickly followed by the gas. It was finally time to use the fireplace. Her father brought a bundle of firewood to the fireplace and started the fire with old newspapers. Soon, the fireplace was blazing, and their dog Ball cozily snuggled in front, dozing off warmly. Giselle bit into a sweet, soft roasted sweet potato while browsing her phone. After many days, households without stockpiled food were running low, and social media was flooded with people begging for food and medicine, creating a desperate atmosphere. One post begged for a box of instant noodles, offering $300. Another asked for fever medicine for a child, offering 5 eggs or $100 in exchange. Another simply stated they would pay any price for food and asked for quick contact. Scrolling through Instagram, Giselle lamented in her posts about her food situation, unfortunately having no acquaintances locally to help her, except for me, and I was her enemy. Everett's latest post that morning showed an empty rice bag, indicating his plan to rush to the supermarket for food. I guess the shelves would be empty by now, and sure enough, Everett updated his status. The supermarket was bare, and he only managed to find 2 bags of instant noodles in a corner. He then sent me a private message, humbly asking if I had any food, saying he'd walk through the snow to get it. Despite his humble tone and sincere attitude, it was hard to forget his previous insults and betrayal. When I ignored him, he video called me, but I switched to audio without turning on the camera. "Haley, why aren't you replying to my messages?" he asked, his voice hoarse but warm, as if nothing unpleasant had ever happened between us. "I just got to my phone. What's up?" I pretended to be unaware of anything. "Can you spare some food? I'm really out of options. There's nothing left in the supermarket," he pleaded. "The shelves are empty," the jerk complained, "but I'm out of food here too, starving to the point of feeling my stomach stick to my back," I said, chewing on a sweet roasted sweet potato. "What are you eating?" he asked, hearing me chew. It startled me, almost making me choke. "Nothing. I was so hungry I ate some dog food. Almost choked on it until I drank some water to wash it down," I lied, glancing at the corner where the dog food was piled high. "Dog food, huh? I guess dog food will do. I'll come over and get some," he said. He knew my family valued Ball, our dog, and often stocked up on a lot of dog food. Oh my God, is there no limit? Now he's even after the dog food. No way, we're running low on dog food, and Ball is watching. "He won't let you take it," I said, worried he might actually come over and find out we had food. "Just lock up Ball, and I'll grab some and leave," he proposed. "No way, there's only a little dog food left. If you eat it, what will Ball eat? Ball is just a dog. Is he more important than me?" he retorted, clearly annoyed. "Of course, Ball is more important than you. He's obedient and loyal. He sits when I tell him to sit, lies down when I tell him to lie down." "Are you that obedient?" I mocked him, after a moment of silence. He responded, "I can lie down too." OMG, this guy has no shame at all. Pfft, don't say you'll lie down. Even if you stripped and rolled on the ground, I wouldn't save you. It's too late. I already have Ball. I don't need you to lie down. Go lie down with Giselle. Also, we really are running out of dog food. If you dare to come over, I can't guarantee Ball won't bite you somewhere serious in defense of his food, I warned him. "Haley, Giselle and I broke up. Let's get back together." He sighed. "What, did you two break up just to get my dog food?" I almost laughed. Did he really think he was such a hot commodity that women were fighting over him? It's a real breakup, not a fake one. Giselle and I are not compatible. She's always acting like a princess, expecting me to arrange everything for her. I can't stand it. TSK, they say adversity reveals true nature. What kind of lousy love is this? Just a little reality check and you can't handle it, want to break up, besides. Giselle is a professor's daughter, isn't it normal for her to act like a princess? I taunted. Haley, can we go back to how things were? He asked hopefully. Go to hell. When we die of hunger, let's discuss in the underworld whether to give you a second chance, I said faintly sadly, then swallowed another bite of my sweet potato. Haley, have an apple, they're really sweet, my dad said, biting into an apple and handing me a large one. Oh, I've got to go. I'm too weak from hunger to talk, I quickly said, taking the apple and worrying that the jerk might have heard my dad. Did I just hear your dad telling you to eat an apple? He asked excitedly. You must have heard wrong. Hunger is making you hallucinate. You're making things up. I even heard your dad biting into an apple, I said, sensing the jerk's saliva almost dripping. We only have 2 apples left at home, I said, feigning helplessness. You're lying. As soon as I mention apples, you say there are only 2 left. What a coincidence. He didn't believe me. You've lied about plenty of things too. It goes both ways, I retorted. There was a brief silence on the other end. Seriously, are there any apples left? No more, I replied. I don't believe you, believe it or not, I said, hanging up the phone. From the beginning to the end, I kept saying there was no food and that I was starving, but I inadvertently let slip that I still had some food and wasn't starving to death yet. I could hold on a little longer. True and false, false and true. Let the jerk guess which of my statements are true and which are false. Soon my phone started ringing nonstop, filled with various apologies and pleas for forgiveness from him, reminiscing about our past sweet love in his messages. I glanced at them briefly before putting away my phone, knowing that his apologies post-cheating were worth less than nothing. On the 30th day of extreme cold, I baked a deliciously fragrant cake at noon, topped with peach preserves and tangerine slices, and garnished with whipped cream. It was a somewhat ugly double-layer cake, but it tasted excellent. I served a piece to both my mom and dad. Dad said it was delicious, but Mom ate absent-mindedly. Your Aunt Georgia just called to apologize, my mom said, referring to Everett's mother. She said she had no idea Everett had cheated. That girl had the audacity to follow Everett back, and she was furious, scolded them both, and told the girl to leave immediately. But with the weather like this, the girl can't leave. And what's the main point Aunt Georgia was trying to make? I pressed for the essence. Aunt Georgia hopes you can forgive Everett, my mom said hesitantly. Impossible. I said flatly, yes, right. Everett really went too far. Not forgiving him is also right. Mom echoed my sentiment. Mom, you're not thinking of forgiving their family, are you? I asked, looking into her eyes. Oh, of course not. We can't forgive him. Everett really went too far. But Aunt Georgia didn't know. She didn't do anything wrong. Mom added. Why didn't Aunt Georgia call to apologize before? But she is doing it now. Why didn't Aunt Georgia send Giselle away before? But now she says she wants to. When did Aunt Georgia become so slow to react? I was nearly at my breaking point, frustrated that my mom was speaking for Everett's mom. I told my mom there was no possibility of reconciling with that jerk, so, even if Everett wants to get back together, you wouldn't agree? My mom looked surprised. Of course not. Who does he think he is? I'm not someone who picks up trash, I said disdainfully. But our family does pick up trash, Mom said, looking at me with hopeful eyes. Mom, our family picks up second-hand goods, not second-hand jerks. I slammed the table, screaming in anger. After a moment of silence, my mom added, but Everett did pass the civil service exam. He has a stable and respectable job. Mom, I screamed again. I suddenly wondered if there was something wrong with my ears, hearing my own mother encouraging me to get back with that jerk. Is his despicable character masked just because he's a civil servant? So what if he's a civil servant? I can pass the civil service exam too. I'd rather stay single my whole life than marry a jerk like Everett. It was unexpected that in my mom's eyes, the allure of a civil servant was so great that even if this man made the biggest mistake, no, even if he broke the most sacred laws, my mom still wanted to push us back together. Really? Are civil servants superior? Do civil servants not die even if they're stabbed? Really? Then you should also try for the civil service exam. I was already planning to prepare you for the exam and even bought some review materials. My mom instantly changed her expression and hurried into the room, gleefully bringing out a thick stack of books. With a face of dismay, I wondered if we could even survive the apocalypse. Yet here was my mom, intent on getting me into the civil service. Indeed, at the edge of the universe was the civil service exam. We don't know how long these days will last. It's a good time to study, my mom said confidently. Once the apocalypse is over, you can go take the exam. I had no idea where her confidence came from. Was it because I just barely passed the college entrance exam, or because of my rich experience working in a supermarket? Looking at the stack of over 10 books, I felt like exploding. Civil service exam. I was just talking casually. Next time Aunt Georgia calls, don't answer, I said helplessly. Just take care of yourself. Look through these materials well. And try to get into the civil service, let everyone be envious. My mom pushed the study materials in front of me, displeased. Fine, you can answer Aunt George's call, but you can't say we have food, just say we've been out of food for days, tightening our belts, struggling to get by. I know, you've said it a million times, Mom said impatiently. I sighed and casually pulled out a book to start reading. On the 35th day of extreme cold. I spent the morning studying administrative theory, and in the afternoon, I made chicken wings and popcorn chicken in the air fryer. My phone rang. It was that jerk Everett calling via video. What's up? I opened the camera while biting into a chicken wing. Haley, you're eating chicken wings? Everett was excited, his face turning a bit pale, as if he hadn't eaten enough, or perhaps it was from the cold. Spit it out fast. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. I took a big bite of the chicken wing. It was crispy, and a small piece fell to the floor. Oh, it fell. The meat dropped. Everett muttered to his phone. Ball, smelling the chicken, came over and ate the piece from the floor. Did you call just to remind me the chicken fell? I pretended to be annoyed, but I rotated the chicken wing in front of the camera, showing off its crispy outside and juicy inside, enjoying tormenting the jerk. Haley, do you have any more food? There's nothing left at my house. We even cooked the corn cobs hanging under the eaves. Everett swallowed hard, making me laugh inwardly. There's nothing left, just a few chicken wings to barely fill the stomach, I said, picking up the popcorn chicken and throwing it into my mouth, the crispy sound echoing. I carelessly turned the phone to show the seeds, chips, and chocolate on the table. There's seeds and chocolate too. You have snacks. Chocolate is high in energy, very filling. Everett's eyes suddenly brightened. Just this little left, and only 2 chicken wings. It's hardly enough, just making do, I said. I opened a bag of rich, silky dark chocolate and threw it into my mouth. Haley, I was wrong. I shouldn't have broken up with you, Everett said painfully. Well, wouldn't he be in pain, being so hungry? Oh, you saying that really puts pressure on me, I continued. You don't like me just for my chocolate, do you? I hastily moved the camera, but unfortunately, it pointed right at the fireplace where the fire was burning brightly and my dad was biting into a large apple. Actually, I started regretting it the day you packed up and left, the scoundrel said, shedding a few tears. You regretted it right then? That doesn't sound right. Didn't you bring Giselle back home that day? You even asked me for clothes for her to wear. Have you forgotten? I exposed his deceit. The scoundrel's face twisted in pain, clearly both regretful and embarrassed. How could he not regret it, watching me eat chicken wings, sunflower seeds dipped in chocolate, and those bright red apples? He probably felt like banging his head against the wall. No, she insisted on coming. I had no choice. The scoundrel tried to give a heartfelt performance, which I promptly stopped. After all, it would be a waste to throw up all the chicken wings and chocolate I just ate. Stop talking, save your energy. We're all struggling to get enough food every day. Let's go to sleep early. If we sleep, we won't feel hungry. Let's talk another time. Don't hang up. Haley, do you have any more food? Apples, sunflower seeds, chocolate, anything will do. The scoundrel really dared to dream. In these apocalyptic times, he still fantasized about asking me for chocolate and apples. Did he really think I was some saint ordained to redeem worthless men and women? Really, I'm out. This is the last bit of food I have. Once it's gone, I'm just waiting to die. You're lying. You told me a couple of days ago that you had 2 apples left, and just now your dad was still eating one. Oh, you know my family collects junk. It's messy and cluttered, and I wouldn't know where my dad might have found another apple. Haley, can you really bear to let me starve to death? The scoundrel said painfully. Everyone is going to die. Think about it. It's just a matter of who goes first and who follows. I don't have any food left at home either. You can die in peace. Get familiar with the road to the underworld first, and I'll burn some spirit money for you. Make sure to smooth things over, if possible. Try to convince the king of hell to erase my name from the book of life and death. That way, once you're gone, and I'm responsible for burning your spirit money, you'll be a wealthy ghost down there. Black and white impermanence will serve you, and Oxhead and Horseface will stand guard for you. Of course, if that doesn't work out, I'll be right behind you, I said as I started cracking sunflower seeds. With all the food you have, you're not going to die, the scoundrel exclaimed angrily. Even if I have a lot of food, it will eventually run out. Besides, we really don't have any food left at home. Truly, you go ahead. I'll soon follow you to the netherworld. By then, you'll have more experience, already a seasoned hungry ghost, and you'll have to look out for me. I hung up the phone, imagining the scoundrel must be fuming. It serves him right. On the 49th day of extreme cold, with outdoor temperatures at -50 degrees, light snow continued to fall gently. Our family gathered around the table for a barbecue. Tender lamb skewers, with a perfect mix of fat and lean meat, sizzled and glistened under the charcoal fire. Plump prawns gradually turned red on the grill, their shells crispy and the flesh firm and bouncy, mixed with the scent of spices. Fresh chives just harvested from the styrofoam box were neatly skewered and grilled, releasing a unique fragrance. Everett sent me several Instagram messages recently, begging me for food. Even Giselle, the ethereal beauty, was tearfully pleading for something to eat, but I rejected them all. I was crying more miserably than them. My family was so poor that we had nothing left to cook, even resorting to boiling brooms for soup. The reason I refused was that Everett, being a local, has many acquaintances and friends here. If I showed that we had plenty of food, I couldn't be sure he wouldn't spread the word on social media. I didn't want to flaunt our resources only to bring disaster upon us. I had called Hope several times without a response and was really worried she might have run out of food. It's possible that some areas had lost internet connection, or worse, that people had starved. There were far fewer posts on social media platforms. Most were about searching for food or reports of families being robbed by gangs for their food supplies. The news also reported that some criminal gangs were burglarizing homes to steal food and medicine. Today, Hope finally called me back. She said all was well and that her workplace had provided them with ample food. She also mentioned that the extreme cold weather was expected to continue for a long time and advised me to manage our food supplies carefully. After hanging up, the lamb skewers and shrimp were ready, sizzling and dripping with hot oil. I was about to enjoy a skewer when my phone rang again. It was a video call from Everett, whom I initially intended to ignore, but accidentally accepted the call. A gaunt face quickly appeared on the screen, and I nearly didn't recognize it was Everett. His cheeks were sunken, cheekbones pronounced, lips cracked, and his skin was sallow and dull. His whole facial contour had become very sharp, clearly showing he had been suffering from hunger. The camera was rear-facing, showing the barbecue grill full of meat skewers and seafood. Everett seemed stunned for a moment and didn't speak. Just as I was about to end the call, he finally spoke. "Haley, I'm not calling to ask for food. I found several bags of pig feed in the south wing of my house and thought of bringing some over to you." His eyes were filled with sadness. "I never imagined that you were secretly enjoying a barbecue." I remained silent, not responding, even as this despicable man, starving as he was, still tried to make me feel guilty. "Did I eat your barbecue?" I bit into a lamb skewer. "I'm eating my own food. Why should I sneak around?" I said defiantly. "Besides, you can keep your pig feed to yourself. I'm not interested." "Haley, not eating coarse grains for a long time isn't good for your health," he said. "Pig feed is nutritionally balanced." "I was thinking of trudging through the heavy snow to bring some to you," he said, attempting to sound affectionate. "I've never eaten that stuff and have grown up healthy and strong. It seems I naturally don't need it, but you, on the other hand, seem to depend on it. So enjoy your pig feed," I retorted. "Haley, can't you be less harsh?" he said. While talking, I sprinkled cumin and chili powder on the lamb skewers. The dripping fat hissed as it hit the charcoal, bursting into a rich aroma that was evident even through the camera. I heard Everett swallow several times before he spoke again. "Haley, how about I trade some pig feed for some of your meat skewers?" "That wouldn't be fair. I can't take advantage of you," I said, my mouth full of juicy meat. "Then throw in some pork to make it even," he shamelessly suggested. "Keep dreaming and enjoy your pig feed with Giselle," I concluded, dismissing his proposal. Perhaps pig feed would taste better when cooked. I enthusiastically offered this suggestion to the scumbag and then hung up the phone. As I ate barbecue and reviewed for my exam, all I could do was go through the materials and answer past exam questions in preparation for the post-apocalyptic world. It was extremely cold for 58 days, and it started snowing again outside, with the temperature continuously dropping to minus 55 degrees. I was in the bedroom going through materials and doing past exams. I was particularly obsessed with these exams because I was determined to not be beaten after a whole morning of serious work. Comparing answers was just brutal, ending in a wail of defeat. While I was in the middle of this, I suddenly heard the sound of the front door opening followed by disordered footsteps. I muttered to myself in worry. Could it be that someone was breaking into my house to steal food? I pulled out a steel pipe from under the bed and stood at the staircase. "What are you doing, Haley? You're scaring people," said my mom, who appeared around the corner of the staircase with two people following her. "Who did you bring?" I asked. "Haley, it's Everett and this girl," Mom said as she led the two of them upstairs. I nearly died on the spot when my mom brought my cheating ex-boyfriend Everett and his new girlfriend to our house for refuge. Did she really think I was some kind of saint? Mom, I was going crazy. My dad came out of the bedroom upon hearing the noise and was shocked to see the gaunt figures of Everett and his equally emaciated girlfriend Giselle. Mom tried to calm me down by saying Everett had brought something with him. Pig feed, is it? Who's supposed to eat that? I felt deeply humiliated, pointing the steel pipe at Everett's chest. My saintly mom, with tears streaming down her face, said that if we sent Everett away, they would starve to death. What does their starving have to do with me? It's not me who's letting them starve, I yelled. Haley, don't forget, you were raised on Aunt Georgia's milk, she retorted. If it weren't for Aunt Georgia, you would have starved to death long ago, not lived to see this day. Mom recalled the past, her eyes reddening. I was stunned, the steel pipe in my hand feeling suddenly flimsy. I had always known I was raised on Aunt Georgia's milk. My mom didn't produce any breast milk after I was born and couldn't afford formula. Everett, born 2 months before me, initially shared Aunt Georgia's abundant milk. But as we grew and her milk became insufficient, Aunt Georgia weaned Everett at 6 months to feed him barley porridge and save the sweet milk for me, because I was only 4 months old and still needed breast milk. That's why, after Everett's father died in a car accident, my parents unhesitatingly took on all of Everett's educational expenses. But you've paid for his education, spent so much money, that should have repaid Aunt Georgia's kindness, I responded. Money can be repaid, but the debt of saving your life can never be fully settled. My mom stubbornly said. She choked up saying that Aunt Georgia had passed away, and before dying, she entrusted the scumbag to her care. The scumbag looked pitifully at me, and I yelled at him, wasn't it you who despised my parents for collecting junk, and me for working at the supermarket? You think the money from collecting junk, used to buy food, is dirty, don't you? Tears streaming down his face. Everett knelt before my parents and apologized, saying it was a momentary impulse to break up with me and that he regretted it immediately after saying it. After Everett's tearful explanation, my mom, crying, tightly held his hand, and even my dad's expression changed. Dad pulled me into the bedroom. Haley, our house is full of food. Everett saw it. If we really send him away, he might go out and talk nonsense, which could bring disaster, Dad said earnestly. I felt a severe tightness in my chest, really wanting to kill those two right then and there. At this point, we can only keep them here, Dad consoled me, patting my shoulder. I lay in my bedroom all night, thinking a lot. Aunt Georgia has been kind to me, and my parents have been good to Everett. Just because Aunt Georgia is nice doesn't mean that scumbag can insult me and my parents or cheat on me. I realized I couldn't just kick them out, but who says I can't beat them? Thoroughly thrashing the scumbag, tearing into that vile woman. Early the next morning, I kicked open the door to Everett and Giselle's room. It was the only bedroom left in the house, and there they were, shamelessly sleeping together. I directly pulled off the blanket, and Giselle sat up, cursing me for disturbing her sleep. With a loud smack, she received a firm slap on her face. You hit me. Giselle looked at me in disbelief. Another slap followed. Stay in my house. Put up with my rules, I said indifferently, then fiercely kicked the scumbag, who was sleeping like a log. The scumbag woke up, hair a mess, and sat up. I cleared my throat, ready to set some rules. This is no charity, we don't shelter freeloaders. I handed them a sheet of A4 paper, and Giselle read aloud. 1. Clean daily, sweep up dog hair. 2. Cook and wash dishes, do the laundry, including hand-washing clothes. 3. Massage and knead the shoulders of the 3 masters of the house daily. 4. Loudly praise the noble virtues of the master's family for at least 10 minutes each day without repetition. 5. Willingly hand over your mobile phones to the masters for safekeeping. 6. To reduce unnecessary expenses, stop all bed activities, including but not limited to any form of sexual life. If you can't abide by these rules, please leave immediately. You're crazy. What is this nonsense? Giselle complained. If you can't do it, you can leave. Those who stay in my house must follow my rules, I said nonchalantly. Hearing this, Everett immediately grabbed the paper and read it seriously. There's nothing much, just that sex life part, Giselle, and I don't do that. Everett feigned innocence. Oh come on, even saying you last 30 seconds is a compliment. What, can't get it up even with a beauty in your bed? Everett, the weather is getting warmer, you should really see a urologist. It's okay if you can't perform, but Giselle's needs are quite strong, don't end up being cuckolded. I teased. Everett and Giselle's noses were out of joint. I'm not that kind of person, Giselle said discontentedly, the imprint of my fingers still visible on her face. I nodded. Right, it's Everett who cheats, you're just plain horny. I'm not horny, Giselle argued defiantly. I continued to nod in agreement. You're not horny, he can't perform. What a perfect match, just like a monk and a nun. And here I was worried we were out of condoms. But no need to worry now since Everett can't perform and you have no needs, saves on both energy and toilet paper. I patted the scumbag's shoulder in approval. Our country's resources are tight. It's thanks to people like you who can't perform that we can save resources. The scumbag's face turned a deep shade of blue, his self-esteem no doubt wounded. especially in front of the person he cheated with. What a relief. I told them I was going to post these rules, and the scumbags seemed a bit squeamish about Rule 6, hoping I'd cover it up a bit. I agreed, took away their phones, and went to post the rules. In the afternoon, Everett and Giselle came out to see the rules I had posted, their noses twisted in anger again. You said to cover up Article 6. He pointed to the glaring Article 6. Isn't it already covered? I pointed at the transparent tape. That doesn't cover anything at all, Giselle interjected. Well, there's nothing we can do about it now. We only have transparent tape. You two just ignore Article 6, as long as it doesn't bother you. It's others who will feel awkward since you two are thick-skinned. Both of their faces fell, and Everett's expression turned ashen. How about this? When my parents look at these rules, you two stand next to them and explain that the man can't perform and the woman has no needs, so nobody gets the wrong idea, I said, blatantly making things up. The next day in the kitchen, Giselle was making breakfast, and that jerk was mopping the floor, looking like he knew what he was doing. I remembered how Giselle used to come over to eat quite often, and while I was busy in the kitchen, they would sit outside and team up playing games. Once, I was on my period, and after we ate, I asked Giselle to wash the dishes. She was visibly upset, pouting and complaining about how her hands would get rough from the water. No, Giselle no longer complained about her hands getting rough. With a grave expression, I announced, last night, I dreamed about Aunt Georgia. They stared at me blankly, not understanding what I was getting at. Aunt Georgia appeared in my dream, I said, my expression growing even more solemn. Aunt Georgia said she absolutely despises Giselle and told me to give her a piece of my mind, I said with a smirk looking at Giselle. But Auntie is such a kind and gentle person, how could she say that? Giselle obviously didn't believe it. What, are you saying Aunt Georgia lied to you, or am I lying to you? I frowned. No, it's just that since it was a dream, we shouldn't take it too seriously, Giselle said, looking at Everett, hoping he would speak up for her. Aunt Georgia said you've led Everett astray, and because of you, things have gotten to this point. She insisted I give you a beating to teach you a lesson, to stop you from always trying to seduce men. The jerk blinked and didn't dare to utter a word. I can't just ignore what Aunt Georgia said, so bear with it. I'll just pretend, to give Aunt Georgia some peace of mind, I said as I flexed my wrist. Giselle, frightened, covered her face. I unapologetically kicked Giselle in the stomach, and she cried out in pain, falling to the ground. Bear with it. Our goal is to let Aunt Georgia know I've dealt with you harshly, so she can rest in peace, I said quickly. Giselle nodded reluctantly, thinking it was over, and slowly stood up. I then slapped her across the face, cursing as I hit her. You seductive, cheap, trashy woman, causing scandals, seducing people, selling yourself. I'll beat you to death, you wretch. Spreading false rumors, stealing, pretending to have abortions. Giselle cried from the pain, her hair being pulled out as I grabbed it. Everett stepped forward to pull me back but was kicked away by me as I glared fiercely at him. Are you defying your mother? It was just a dream. A few hits should be enough. Everett tried to mediate. No, if it's not convincing enough, Aunt Georgia might still come to me tonight. We need to make it convincing in one go, I said earnestly. Haley, I didn't steal. I haven't sold myself, and I've never had an abortion. Giselle was crying and arguing as she clutched her hair. Stealing a man is just like stealing anything else, she exclaimed. If you don't get an abortion now, you'll just end up having a miscarriage later, I explained while hitting her relentlessly and urging her to endure it just a little longer for Aunt Georgia's satisfaction. Tell me, will you steal someone's man again? Will you be reckless again? I asked, slapping her a few more times as I grabbed her by the hair. No, never again. She sobbed. I dusted off my hands, looking at Giselle's bruised face with a sense of satisfaction. That should be enough to satisfy Aunt Georgia. She has a kind heart after all. I think this should feel sufficient, I said, stretching my neck and shoulders, ready to resume my studies. You could have just pretended. Aunt Georgia wouldn't have seen it anyway. You didn't have to beat me so badly. It hurts so much, Giselle whimpered, covering her swollen eyes. Just endure it. I did this so that Aunt Georgia can finally let you be, I responded. If I had gone easy on you and Aunt Georgia wasn't satisfied, she'd come to me in my dreams tonight and make me beat you again tomorrow. Which do you think would be worse? I said, turning away without a hint of guilt. Recalling our college days, Giselle often mocked me in front of our classmates about attending a third-tier university, suggesting I wasn't worthy of Everett from the prestigious 985 universities. Despite this, she wore the YSL lipstick I had given her. Another time, I was ill with a high fever in my rental room and called Everett. Giselle answered and told me Everett was in a physical education class. I asked her to inform Everett about my fever and urge him to come back quickly. She told me to wait and then blocked my number, leaving me unable to contact Everett. Eventually, I nearly passed out from the fever. But fortunately, the landlord came to collect the utility bill, found me ill, and rushed me to the hospital. The doctors said it was fortunate I was brought in time, otherwise, I could have had a seizure. Later, Giselle cried, claiming innocence, asserting that someone else must have played a prank by blocking my number and blaming me for falsely accusing her, appearing more in need of consolation than I was. Initially, I didn't make much of it because, after all, she was Professor Everett's daughter, and I'm generally forgiving, especially since I received timely medical treatment, but now, I will not be lenient anymore. Dealing with such deceit requires force to make her submit, settling both new grudges and old, otherwise, it would be an injustice to the suffering I endured and to my family's provisions. The next day, I went to the kitchen in the morning. Giselle was mopping the floor, and Everett was frying eggs, presenting a picture of domestic bliss. I dreamt of Aunt Georgia last night, I announced. Giselle immediately fell to her knees. Her face was even more swollen than before, eyes reduced to slits, her face a palette of red, green, black, white, and purple bruises. Don't worry, Aunt Georgia said yesterday's beating was quite adequate, all in one go, I reassured her, relieved. Giselle heaved a sigh and collapsed to the floor. As Everett rushed to help her up, I continued, Aunt Georgia came to me in a dream last night, saying that Everett, that boy, is unambitious, despises the poor, loves the rich, and abandons people. She told me to teach him a lesson. Everett's face turned pale, knowing full well how formidable my fists were. Just yesterday, Giselle had suffered terribly, and I had actually held back. That was definitely going full throttle. My mom loves me the most. How could she let you beat me up? The scumbag tried to persuade me. Well, I sighed. Aunt Georgia said that too much motherly love spoils the child. She couldn't bear to do it herself, so she asked me to teach you a lesson instead, just like I did with Giselle yesterday. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to rest easy. After that, I didn't hold back and gave the scumbag a thorough beating. Giselle, too scared to even try to break it up, shrank into a corner trembling. Everett had always protected her, even abandoning our plans to watch the fireworks on my birthday to accompany her to see the northern lights, just because she wanted to. Everett told me he was going with her to the far north to see the aurora, yet, she turned around and flaunted photos of stargazing on social media, making sure to tag me. At that time, I thought Everett was just trying to please the professor by accompanying his daughter. Little did I know, Giselle had already set her sights on Everett, and the scumbag was eagerly playing along. After dealing with the scumbag, I dusted off my hands, finally venting the anger of being cuckolded and insulted. Remembering what my dad said about murdering with a limit, I decided to let go of all the grudges between Everett, Giselle, and myself. It was still extremely cold, 83 days in, with temperatures outside still at minus 55 degrees, and the snow piling as high as a building. The news continued to report on the severe cold and heavy snow across regions, with the government tirelessly delivering supplies by helicopter. However, these supplies were but a drop in the bucket for the vast number of people in need, many of whom couldn't get their hands on them. Some youths even formed gangs to rob and loot these supplies, hoarding them to sell at exorbitant prices. A 10-kilogram bag of rice sold for 20,000 yuan, flour for 30,000, a few potatoes for 2,000. And some carrots for 3,000. The world was in chaos. I spent a lot of time every day studying real exam questions, but my brain wasn't very sharp. Even struggling with the exam questions didn't yield much improvement. Seeing Everett washing dishes, an idea suddenly occurred to me. I couldn't just eat for free at my house without contributing something. Come here, I commanded. I led the wary scumbag inside, pointed at my disastrous exam papers, and demanded he tutor me to pass the civil service exam. The scumbag's mouth fell open in surprise. If you explain it wrong or purposely mislead me, you'll face the consequences, I warned him in advance. He remained on edge. You're not just looking for an excuse to beat me up, are you? Stop the nonsense. I don't need an excuse to hit you, I snapped, throwing the brutal papers at him. After a suspicious glance, he started looking at the papers. After a while, he began explaining the questions. Seeing that I was genuinely listening and not about to hit him, he finally got into the groove and seriously started explaining. In the following period, Everett was forced to tutor me daily on various types of mock questions, addressing issues repeatedly until I understood the approach to similar problems. Over a month, my accuracy on real exam questions significantly improved, from 30% correct to 70% correct. However, this soon sparked strong dissatisfaction from Giselle, whether from fear of me stealing the scumbag or the scumbag taking a liking to me, and a month later, Giselle stirred up trouble again. She announced she was 1 month pregnant at the dinner table, still amid the relentless cold, 121 days in, with the temperature and snow unchanged. My parents were so shocked that their mouths hung open for quite a while. I looked at Everett, who was shamefaced. burying his head in his bowl and just focusing on his rice. In this situation, you still have the nerve to think about having a child. I slammed my bowl down on the table. Giselle sarcastically criticized me for being petty with a child. As long as you ensure the fetus develops normally, you can handle the birth yourself, and have enough breast milk, then you can do whatever you want, I said, and continued eating. Giselle was stunned. Obviously she hadn't thought that far ahead. A few days later, Giselle came to me. Haley, I want to eat some chicken and drink some chicken soup to nourish my body, so I'll have enough milk when the baby comes. Although I really wanted to scold her, I still managed to hold back my anger and gave her a roasted chicken. She shook her head, emphasizing that she wanted fresh chicken meat and soup. I immediately understood her intention. She was eyeing my 6 prized silky chickens, considering how valuable eggs were these days, and that our eggs all came from those 6 silkies. Eating one meant one less chicken. I wasn't about to let anyone touch my chickens without a fight. Don't even think about those 6 chickens, I warned her. Giselle left silently, looking pitiful, but 2 nights later, Giselle took advantage of our sleep and secretly stewed one of the chickens. I realized then that Giselle, relying on her pregnancy, felt she could do as she pleased without fear of retribution from me. I scoffed coldly. 1 chicken lasts 3 days. You can go without food for 3 days to prevent indigestion. People like Giselle shouldn't be indulged. Once well fed, they start plotting other schemes. Thus, for 3 days, Giselle could only drink some leftover thin porridge, and visibly, her plump cheeks had thinned considerably. I thought Giselle might have learned her lesson, but I was wrong. I had underestimated how vindictive this woman could be. The extreme cold persisted for 144 days, as always. The internet was down, and I had no idea what the situation was outside. The network might be restored in a few days, or maybe it would remain down indefinitely. After several months of coaching, my skills in the civil service exams had significantly improved. Now, the chances of qualifying for the interview stage were very high. During lunch, Giselle started causing trouble again, claiming that the dog was bad for pregnant women and asking us to confine Ball to the 3rd floor. I flatly refused and suggested she move to the unheated 3rd floor instead. I thought Giselle would stop targeting Ball, but I was wrong. In the middle of the night, she secretly locked Ball outside the main door, almost freezing the dog to death. Fortunately, I heard Ball's pained howls in time to save him. Without saying a word, I slapped Giselle 5 or 6 times and starved both of them for 3 days. As I was contemplating my next move with Giselle, she caught a cold. Giselle's cold dragged on for nearly half a month before she slowly recovered. Logically, she should have been thankful that I gave her medicine and cured her cold, but I always felt her eyes bore hatred towards me. Suspecting Giselle had ulterior motives, I placed 2 recording pens secretly in their room. At night, while everyone was having dinner, I swapped the recording pens and returned to my room to listen. As the recording played, my fists clenched tighter. I was right. Giselle was indeed harboring ill intentions. She first cursed me, saying I shouldn't keep a dog, knowing there was a pregnant woman in the house, yet allowing the dog to run back and forth in the living room. She had malicious intentions from the start, aiming to cause a miscarriage. Then, Giselle accused me of tampering with the cold medicine I gave her. She complained that her prolonged illness was surely due to my meddling. As she believed I wanted her to lose the baby, Everett tried to console her, mentioning how my parents also took a long time to recover from their colds due to the harsh weather, which naturally made recovery slower. Suddenly, I heard a sharp slap. Giselle had struck Everett clearly and audibly. I couldn't help but chuckle, seeing that his affair hadn't turned out as well as he had hoped. In the following days, the recording seemed normal until an incident made me realize that Giselle's malevolence far exceeded my imagination. It was day 166 of extreme cold, with outdoor temperatures still at -45 degrees. The snow had stopped, but it was frozen solid, making it impossible for people or vehicles to move. That morning, we suddenly had internet access, so I quickly checked my Instagram messages. Hope messaged me that the severe cold might improve in 2 months and encouraged me to hold on a bit longer. I replied to her, reported that I was safe, and we encouraged each other to keep going. Giselle caught a cold again, which developed into pneumonia, leaving her feverish and delirious. Despite taking fever reducers and antibiotics, her fever kept returning. A few days later, Giselle miscarried. She cried hysterically and glared at me with hatred. I took back the recorder. After listening to the contents of the recorder, a chill ran down my spine, and my forehead broke out in sweat. Giselle suspected there was something wrong with the medicine I gave her, and she believed my parents allowed Ball to run around the living room as part of a conspiracy by my family to cause her miscarriage. She even planned to kill us all. 3 less people to feed meant they could survive longer. Moreover, she planned to seize all my family's assets. She had it all figured out. ask me for blood pressure medication and, when we weren't looking, mix it into our food. Within no more than 2 meals, our entire family would surely pass out from low blood pressure. I shared their plan with my dad but not with my mom, fearing she wouldn't be able to keep calm in front of Everett. Based on their plan, my dad and I prepared accordingly. And he even installed cameras in the living room and our bedrooms in case anything happened, to have evidence. On day 178 of extreme cold, they planned to act that night. Giselle ground the blood pressure medication into powder and secretly added it to our bowls, which my dad and I clearly saw on camera. That afternoon, Giselle once again sprinkled the medicine into our bowls. I had barely eaten half when I complained of dizziness and went to rest, as did my parents. My door was unlocked, and Giselle tiptoed to my bed to check on me. After pushing me and seeing no reaction, she and Everett carried me out and threw me into the icy, snowy outdoors. They did the same with my dad. My mom was not thrown out because they still had use for her. I helped my dad up, took out the keys, and we quietly went upstairs to hide in the storage room. My mom was awakened by a splash of cold water, and Giselle bluntly told her that she had dealt with me and my dad. Then, wielding a sharp blade, she demanded all of our family's wealth. How much is in the savings? What's the password? Do you have any properties or investments elsewhere? I kicked open the door. Amid Giselle's horrified gaze, I kicked at the wrist holding the knife, sending the cleaver flying out of her hand and clattering to the floor. With a few swift punches and kicks, Giselle was down on the ground. Everett, who had been standing by, making himself an accomplice, tried to grab the fallen knife, but I caught him by the collar and pulled him back, giving him a beating until he quieted down. How come you guys aren't dead? I fed you blood pressure pills, Giselle yelled desperately, and I personally threw you both out the door. How did you get back in? She continued. My dear husband, Haley, you're still alive. My mother, soaked with tears and sweat, cried while hugging my father. I thought you were dead. I didn't know what to do. You scared me to death. Are you sure the pills I gave you were for blood pressure? I asked, tying my hair up with a rubber band. Was there something wrong with the pills? Giselle asked, still hopeful. The pills were fine, just calcium supplements, good for your bones, I replied. And how did we get in? Are you kidding? It's my house. Of course I have the keys, I said, stretching my limbs. It had been a long time since I had hit a punching bag, and I relished the feeling, though my opponents were far from resilient, going down with little effort. Giselle ended up losing 5 teeth, suffered a broken leg, and her hair was yanked so much she looked almost bald. Everett, needless to say, was bruised and swollen, with a broken lower leg and collarbone, crying out in pain with every movement. I pulled out some ropes and chains I had prepared earlier and tied the two up securely. My mother, watching Giselle cry and scream, kicked her broken leg, causing Giselle to sharply inhale in pain. You really are heartless. After all the care and shelter we provided, even cooking chicken soup for you when you had a cold, how could you be so ungrateful? My mother shouted angrily. Then, with a look of guilt, she turned to me. Haley, I was wrong. It was me who let the wolves in. My father patted my mother's hand. Thankfully Haley knows how to defend herself, otherwise, you can imagine what could have happened to our family. Let's not be too saintly from now on. I threw the two in a room on the 3rd floor, feeding them leftovers or dog food. Some people don't deserve to be treated like humans, our family agreed. For now, we would keep them confined here until the severe cold passed, then we would report their murderous and thieving intentions to the police and let the law deal with them. On the 229th day of extreme cold, the outdoor temperature was minus 36 degrees Celsius, a bit warmer than a couple of days before. By the 245th day, the long-missed sun finally came out, and the temperature slowly climbed to minus 20 degrees Celsius. Social media became active again, with everyone encouraging each other, waiting for the harsh weather to end. On day 262, the temperature reached 15 degrees Celsius. After all the snow melted, the city was flooded, and the government was busy organizing drainage. By day 274, the city's temperature was comfortable and clean, supermarkets reopened, and people began to shop and gradually return to work. I took out my phone and dialed 110. When the police arrived, Giselle and Everett were crying, both as thin as reeds. They had intended to kill my entire family. Starving them for a few months seemed fair, especially since I spared their lives, leaving them to await legal judgment. Both of their legs had healed crookedly, one bow-legged, the other knock-kneed. Everett, once a successful civil service interviewee, now walked with a pronounced limp, his face ashen, as he faced imminent imprisonment. Giselle, the bright and envied daughter of a university professor, now dragged her misshapen, broken leg, suspected of deliberate murder and escorted into a police car. I handed over the surveillance videos and recordings to the police, who conducted a thorough interrogation before detaining them both. The police advised me to be patient, as it would likely take a long time for the interrogation results to come through. On the drive home, my father drove, music played, and my mother sat beside him, cracking sunflower seeds. Everything that had happened seemed like a dream. The sunlight outside the window was just right, warming my body and lifting my spirits as I hummed along to the music. 6 months later, the court held a public hearing on the premeditated murder case involving Everett and Giselle. The charges stated that in the dead of winter, they had plotted a brutal family massacre in an attempt to seize private property, resulting in attempted murder. The audience in the courtroom was fervently demanding the death penalty for both to be carried out immediately. The court did not issue a verdict that day but chose to schedule another date for it. Everett requested to see me and my mother, hoping for a letter of forgiveness to receive the lightest sentence possible. "Auntie, it was all Giselle's plan, not mine. Please forgive me," he pleaded, trying to invoke my mother's sympathy by recalling their close relationship. "Everett, it's because of my ties with your mother that I took you in against Haley's wishes," my mother replied, "but you've exhausted all my goodwill. I've been fair to your mother, and the court will decide your fate. Everyone must pay for their actions." Although Everett was not as ruthless as Giselle, his character flaws were evident. He was mercenary, disloyal, and complicit under Giselle's command in a plot to freeze to death the very family that had saved him, an unforgivable act. Giselle's father, a professor, came to our house offering $1 million to secure a letter of forgiveness for his daughter. "Your daughter has committed heinous crimes. She will not be forgiven," my mother stated firmly. The professor was in denial until I laid all the evidence before him, leaving him in shock. In this entire case, Giselle was the most terrifying figure. She repeatedly tried to kill me and my family, even though I had taken her in. A few days later, the verdict was announced. Giselle was sentenced to death, to be carried out immediately, and Everett received a 12-year prison sentence. The case was closed. The devil went to hell. A month later, I topped the civil service exam and was hired by the Public Security Bureau based on my overall top performance, becoming a people's police officer. My parents were overjoyed, proud that I had secured a government position. I was assigned to the riot police, investigating violent crimes and suspicious deaths during my tenure. Handling these cases not only allowed me to fight evil and uphold justice but also hone my physical skills, keeping me incredibly busy. Isn't this what life is about? Filled with sunshine, living openly, busy and tired but fulfilling.